There we go. It's official. Welcome, everybody. I'm Heather Lorenz. I serve as the Visual Arts Manager at the Northfield Arts Guild. And I'll just go over a couple of Zoom tips while we get going here. During the reception, you can adjust from speaker view to gallery view to be able to see everybody. And if you want to adjust the size of the slideshow, there's a double bar and you can drag it to make the slideshow smaller and so that you can see all of the participants on your screen at the same time. I'm actually going to switch to speaker view now. And we're gonna get going here. So thank you so much to the Minnesota State Arts Board for their generous support of the Northfield Arts Guild. And thank you to Rebound Enterprises for sponsoring our entire 2020-21 gallery season of exhibitions. And thank you to all of our members, donors, and sponsors. Your support makes it possible for us to continue making great art and showcasing great art here in our community. How is this virtual reception gonna go? First, we're gonna go through a series of overall exhibition photos. Catherine Norrie will share some remarks. Then we're gonna hear from each of the honors artists, accompanied by a slideshow of images. And then we're gonna have a question and answer session. So I would encourage you to, as we're going through and you're hearing from the artists, if there's a question that you'd like to ask them, please put that in the chat box. And then following all of their talks, we will go through the question and answers at that time following their talks. And I just want to ask all of the artists at this time if everybody else can mute. And then we will be getting to you very shortly. I am so glad that you joined us tonight for Uncover the Beauty, the virtual artist reception. For over 10 years, the Guild has been supporting and working closely with Northfield High School art teacher Catherine Norrie to present this annual exhibition. And we are very proud to provide a professional space for these emerging artists to showcase their artwork each spring. Each spring, I really look forward to working with the students that take honors art and seeing the concepts that they're exploring and the artwork that they've developed over this semester. I'm always super impressed by what they come up with. This year's show was a little bit closer to what we're used to experiencing in that all of the students were able to upload or install their own, all their artwork this year. And as I was telling the honors artists earlier, every year we have visitors who aren't familiar with the show that come in and say, these are high school students? Yes, the high caliber of their artwork is just truly impressive. And this annual show is really special to me. This honors art show was the first exhibition that I was a part of when I started with the Guild in 2015. And this year's show is my last official show with the Guild. And so I treasure these experiences that I've had with Catherine Norrie and these students. So this show is extra special. And now we're going to be hearing from Catherine Norrie. She is going to share some thoughts on the year, and then she's going to introduce all of the artists. So take it away, Catherine.
Thank you so much, Heather. I want to start off by just saying, first of all, thank you to Heather. This is my 21st year at Northfield High School, and my colleagues and I have had many years of working with people at the Guild, but Heather has made our relationship at the Guild between public education and the amazing Guild organization so strong and so streamlined. And Heather, you have poured your soul and your passion and your heart into everything that we have been part of. And I'm just so glad that my students got to have a piece of you while you were with the Guild, because you've really made my job pretty lovely. So thank you. Those are big shoes to fill, and I couldn't be more appreciative of you and your help. So thank you. I also want to say thank you to this group of amazing artists. You are tremendous. You have worked so hard in a year where you have been asked to do so many different things, transition here and pivot there and jump off here and try this now. And you are incredible. And it makes me teary. It's not a surprise it makes me teary, but it makes me teary because you are all so dedicated to hard work and passion and creating. And I'm thrilled to know that the world is going to gain all of you. And the world is going to be a better place because you are going to be a part of it. So thank you for your hard work. Thank you for sticking through this with me, with each other. You are incredible. And I just adore each and every one of you. And your work is spectacular. So I hope the entire town can get to the Guild to see your work at the Guild. It's just too precious not to be able to see it. And I think I want to also thank the K-12 art teachers who have nurtured you since you were little kindergarten people. And, every step of the way, there have been people giving you crayons and markers and paper and telling you, you can do this. And Mr. Holmquist and Mrs. Hauk and I at the high school could not be prouder of you. We all just think the world of you. So thank you for gracing us with your presence in our classrooms. And it's our joy to be with you. So thank you. And thank you to the Guild and to the donors and to everybody. And thank you to the schools, all of it. I think this is a year of gratitude. It's a year to not take for granted all that we get to have. So we're very lucky. All right. And best wishes to all of you as you go wherever you're going to go next year. All right. I think we're ready. Okay, so we're going to launch right into this because we really want to hear from the artists. We want to hear from these talented and creative humans. So Caroline Ash is going to start us off this evening.
Well, hi everyone, I'm Caroline. I'm a senior this year, so I'll be graduating in the next week or so. And after all that's done, I'm planning on going to college at the University of New Hampshire. But this year for my honors art show, I decided to go with the theme of architecture and then specifically basilicas and cathedrals. These structures themselves actually don't hold like a whole lot of significance to me. I just am in so much awe of their detail and just how intricate they are, even though they are so massive. At the start of the semester, I actually started doing the full structures for all of them, and I did them all in watercolor. And I ended up obviously switching to graphite because I just wanted to focus on the detail and I wanted no other distractions of colors or just like this massive image that would have been hard to get as much detail as I wanted to do. This actually made the process a lot more enjoyable for me. I found it so much more almost calming to just focus so much on the intricacy of these rather than trying to get my full vision for a huge structure and such a small piece of paper. But I feel like this, worked for me. I think these seem more polished and finished me, and I enjoy them very much. And then on the next slide, I decided to do structures all throughout the world. There are 2 in Germany, some one in Asia, and then one in South America, and then one right here in Northfield. I think this is just super cool because it kind of goes to show that anywhere you can find, amazing structures like these and the architecture that these hold. So thank you.
Our next artist is GINA Bradford.
Hi everybody, I'm GINA. I'm also a senior this year, so I'm also going to be attending college in the fall. I'm going to the University of Minnesota, Twin Cities, and I'm going to be studying apparel design. But this year, this is my honors art show. These first 2 pieces that you see were my favorite pieces in the show, and they actually were the first and last pieces that I did, which I thought was really funny that they were my favorites. But yeah, my collection was all revolved around the study of the female figure and the human body. I really love studying the human figure. I have since I was a little kid. I haven't been able to stop drawing people since I started drawing. But the next slide. But yeah, basically my whole collection was a study of marble figures, both from ancient Greek sculptures to modern day sculptures that were done in the past 10 years. I really liked drawing from both really ancient times and modern times because I thought that it was really beautiful to see how they looked the same, even though they were from all different parts of the world and all different time periods. The human figure is something that has fascinated me for a really long time. I've always been drawn to the complexities of the shapes and curves of the body, and I've wanted to perfect the ability to portray them on paper. After spending the majority of my senior year painting figures and studying the body, I came to realize just how much I loved and enjoyed creating pieces that showcased the beauty of the female human figure. I hope these pieces serve as a reminder to everyone who views them that there is no such thing as one perfect way to feel or look beautiful. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed my collection.
Thank you, Gina. Next, we have Rachel Braun.
Hi, I'm Rachel Brunn. I'm also a senior at Northfield High School, and I plan on going into the National Guard next year. So I will be at basic training and then a job training as a helicopter mechanic. But for these pieces, I wanted to focus on different types of memories that I have and like family heirlooms and things like that. So I decided to start with black and white charcoal pencil drawings, and so these two were my first pieces and also my favorite pieces, but I wanted to really capture the detail but also just the high contrast and how you kind of have these vivid memories that are also have all this historical background in their ancestry. And then on the next slide, you'll see that I also took a little detour into pastel drawing too. And that contrasted with the vivid black and white drawings in that these are all childhood memories. So lepsa making and matryoshka dolls that my mom was a Russian teacher, so she brought those home for me. And so that was a difference between what I saw in my childhood in terms of like family heirlooms, where I have this big, huge chandelier in my dining room and these family clocks that all hold a lot of significance, whereas the lepsa and the matryoshka dolls kind of are just playful and joyful and very colorful. But the other ones have all the memories of the ancestors and just heirlooms. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Next, we have Libby Brust.
Hi, my name is Libby Brust, and I'm also a senior in high school this year, soon to be NHS alum, but next year I'm planning to attend the University of South Dakota for a degree in medical biology, and I also hope to continue my career as an artist and plan to take as many art classes as my schedule will allow me in college and beyond. But for my series, I chose to paint mostly glass objects with different forms of insects. And I've always enjoyed painting glass because of the wide variety of effects it produces and the creative freedom that allows me to have. So my collection just focuses on simple and delicate forms of beauty. I can go to the next slide, I guess, if that's okay. So I chose to paint with watercolor because of its capability to produce that wide variety of effects and values that I just touched on earlier. And I wanted to use a medium that would be soft enough for the lighter values that you see in the glass, but also bold enough to create the bright and vibrant pops of color. So mostly for the insects on that. And each piece portrays a unique intersection between the natural world and a man-made object, each created to show how beauty can be found in simplicity. And I'm also a lover of puns. So you can see on the right, my piece with the butterfly and the perfume bottle is named Monarchy. And some of my pieces are more concept-based. So you can see on the left a little bit, the light bulb with the firefly shows just two different forms of light. I thought that would be fun. And yeah, that's all. Thank you for being here tonight. And thank you to Mrs. Nori and Heather and everyone else who assisted us in creating this show and making the reception happen in a really difficult year.
Thank you, Libby. Next, we have Kelsey CLOSSON.
Hi, I'm also a senior this year. I plan to attend the University of Wisconsin Stout, undecided. I have a huge range of things that I'm interested in, so I'm just planning on taking generals and see where that takes me. As you can see, these are my first and last pieces that I did this year, which are both my favorites. The one on the left is rocks from the South Shore in Duluth, where I often visited my grandma and grandpa who live in Duluth. The ones on the left, or the right, I should say, is my hand with my cat's paw. The ominous feeling you get in the black kind of has a secret meaning of the depression and anxiety that I was able to overcome and I'm still overcoming. This series that I wanted to do reflects on things that are important to me in my life. If you want to go to the next slide. The other one with the dog that's kind of in the middle on the left, that one is also in Duluth and the North Shore. That is my grandparents' dog, Bodie. And in the winters, we would go and walk on the rocks, and it's just a very special place to me. Duluth in general is a very special place to me. And the picture on the far right is a picture of competition plates that we use in weightlifting because I am an Olympic weightlifter. And that sport to me is just like, it's all my life. The adrenaline you get when you're hitting a new PR and the positive energy you get from your teammates just makes weightlifting so fun for me. All of these pictures, like I said, have a meaning to me, and I have taken all of them on my own. You can tell that some of them are collaged with black and white images, and some of them are both black and white images. All of the ones that are in black and white are painted, collaged with the color by me, obviously, in India ink watercolor. And yeah, so they're all collaged with images that I've taken. So thank you for your time, and yeah.
Thank you, Kelsey. All right, next up we have Aiden, and Aiden is not able to be with us this evening, so I will just say a few words on behalf of Aiden. Aiden focused on landscapes and used watercolor as his primary medium. I think there was a tiny bit of pen involved, and later in the game, the addition of some white just to add extra contrast and kind of a boost of light in his paintings. And they're all around postcard size. So they're just a really engaging size. They really invite the viewer to come closer and look at the details. And he was prolific. He just would make more and more and more every day. So it was very fun to watch Aiden create these and focus on Minnesota and the beauty of the changing seasons. So we miss Aiden tonight, but you can go see his work on the walls at the Guild. All right. Next, we have Jason Gonzalez.
All right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Jason Gonzalez. I am a senior this year, and I will be graduating very soon. And I plan to also go to the University of Wisconsin Stout. And I plan on studying studio art for the first year or two and seeing where that takes me. Okay, so here we go. On the left, we got my very first piece. And on the right, we have one of my last pieces. These two are my favorites because my main goal in all of these pieces were to create characters that could convey a really good, they could convey their personalities. So I think I did a good job, personally. And I think these pieces were the ones that show the most emotion. But of course I have others. So next slide, please. All right, so it's kind of hard to see, but I'm assuming you can kind of zoom in on those. But I focused mainly on characters and kind of comic book style characters because eventually I want to be a professional comic book artist. So I've been practicing of turning first personalities into characters. And then it was making like a blank slate, like a character and giving them a special personality. So there's lots of themes of like joy and kind of sassiness and anger. And on that left piece over there, there's a lot of characters. So I kind of had to challenge myself and give every single one their own kind of personality. I used watercolor and ink, just standard ink pens for these pieces, but I did use a very new favorite medium of mine called soluble graphite, and it's like a pencil, but you can get it wet and it looks really cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Next, we have Ella Homan.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ella Homan. I'm also a senior this year. Next year, I will be going to St. Olaf College, planning to study biology on a pre-med track with a minor in art studio. So I first want to introduce these pieces with a little background information. For a large part of my life, northern Minnesota has held a special place in my heart. I was 10 years old when my parents bought our cabin in Cross Lake, Minnesota. And every summer after, we spent almost every day out on the lake, swimming, surfing, and spending quality time with family and friends. While all of my pieces for this show don't directly correlate, they all encompass memories and feelings of being at the cabin, as my memories were always fondest at the lake. And then on the next slide, you can see my full display. I decided to focus on feelings instead of creating intricate, overly detailed pieces. I stuck to simplistic yet meaningful overglazes that represents the warmth of the cabinetry in the kitchen, the strength of the wooden barn beams that line the railing of the steps leading to the loft, and the comfort of snuggling up on the couch after a long day on the water. Growing up, northern Minnesota quickly became known as being north of the tension line for me and for my family and I. And in my pieces, I sought to emulate that feeling of peace, relaxation, and warmth. So thank you.
Thank you, Ella. All right, next we have Kylie Hoover.
Hi, my name is Kai and I am a junior. I hope to be in the Honors Art program again next year. And after that, I am looking at attending a art school to focus on animation or illustration. I really like experimenting with colors in my pieces, and I really enjoy using watercolors and just using as many different mediums as I can in my pieces. I think for these two, I used about 6 different mediums, ranging from watercolor, white gel pen, colored pencil, alcohol marker, water-based marker, and graphite. And I really enjoyed learning how to, broadening my way of using values and colors this semester. And I hope that next year I can create more really pretty looking art.
Thank you, Kylie. Next, we have Emma Johnson.
Hello, my name is Emma. I am a senior this year, and I am also planning to attend St. Olaf College next year. And these pieces mean a lot to me because they are all pictures that I have taken, and then I used watercolor and gouache to create pieces. And so the right one is my first piece, and that is a picture of a camel, obviously, that I took in Kuwait, and that is where I lived for 2 years. And then on the left, it is the last piece that I created, and that is a peacock that my family and I saw in Sri Lanka. So my honors art collection is very special to me because it reflects 2 very important years of my life. My family of 5 lived in Kuwait for 2 years, and the adventures I had while living there will always be near to my heart. We traveled to over 20 countries, and we were able to see many beautiful and unimaginable sights. I enjoyed taking pictures at every location, and each of my paintings are inspired by a picture that I captured. I wanted to incorporate some of the qualities of traveling in other countries in my artwork. I enjoyed using bright colors because of the adventures I had, and they were never dull. I also loved pushing the contrast in each of these pieces because living in Kuwait and traveling the world was a huge contrast from living at home. While painting these pieces, I was able to reflect on my time around the world, and it was nice to think about somewhere other than my hometown in Minnesota. The beauty in this world is so abundant, and using some of the beauty in my artwork brings me joy. I am so happy that I decided to use my own experiences as inspiration for my painting collection. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. And next we have Ashley.
Hello, my name is Ashley, and I am a senior at the Northfield High School. I also plan to attend St. Olaf College next year. And yeah, so this is my artist statement. Everyone's childhood consists of different events, yet our memories can still be similar to one another. As children, we are curious, excited, and in many ways full of color. While working on my pieces, I played on the idea of keeping a nostalgic feeling and maintaining a similar color scheme to keep a common theme among my paintings. The colors that I paint with represent my views on the world as seen through a child's eyes, and to set a reminder of the tiny happinesses found around the world. Next slide, please. Okay. Besides focusing on color, I also chose to include a piece of my childhood that others could possibly remember as well. I included objects that reminded me of growing up, ranging from my memories at garage sales to using my last quarter to spend on a toy vending machine. After taking watercolor courses, I knew that watercolor would be the perfect medium for my pieces due to its soft texture. Lastly, while I added the final touches to my paintings, I was happy to see that my initial idea was finally coming together. Looking at my art as one unified body of work, I hope a feeling of childhood nostalgia will sweep through you as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Next up, we have Allie Mikuleski, and Allie also was not able to be with us this evening. This is Allie's second year in honors art. She took it as a junior and now again as a senior. And she has a deep passion for different music styles and wanted to bring the people from those groups to life in watercolor paintings. And Allie is known for her bold colors, her bold compositions, kind of an in-your-face experience with the subject matter. And she just loves to kind of bring her pieces to life through that extreme color scheme a lot of the time. So we miss Allie this evening. We wish she could be with us, but hopefully you can see her work. All right. And next we have Laura REZAC.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Laura. I'm a senior this year at Northfield High School. In the fall, I will be attending Columbia College Chicago, so I am very excited to get out of small town Northfield and head to a big city where I will be majoring in film and television production. Film is another art form that I'm very passionate about, so I'm pretty excited. I knew for over 4 years that I wanted to be in honors art, and throughout high school, I completed art classes with that as my end goal. During the 8 art classes I took leading up to honors art, I got to expand my skills and practice with different mediums, including acrylic, watercolor, clay, and more. I was so excited to be in honors art, but I was always left with one question. What am I going to create? What mediums am I going to use? I finally settled on acrylic paint on wood. Acrylic is a medium that I had not used in a very long time, but Mrs. Nori had us do kind of a warm-up assignment before we got into the rest of our projects, which happened to be on a wood block, and I used acrylic and found out I really loved it and decided to go from there. People have always been my favorite thing to draw ever since I was young. I started out with stick figures in kindergarten, and they have definitely evolved from there. And I knew I wanted to create art that revolved around people. I finally settled. I originally did, my original theme was going to be kind of fairy tale and fantasy creatures, which you can see on the right. I did a mermaid and a fairy, but afterwards I decided to change it to kind of a hippie kind of vibe. I would call myself a very free-spirited person with a love for the aesthetic of the 60s and 70s and an obsession with vintage Volkswagen buses. So I figured this would be the perfect theme for me. You can go back to the first slide, please. I loved painting different figures and poses, got to work with a beautiful toned down and neutralized pastel color palette, and also discovered my love of painting clothing in acrylic. So these are the very last two pieces that I did in my collection, and I had a lot of fun with them, especially the one on the right. I have been working with portraits for over 4 years, usually in graphite, but I knew that I wanted to incorporate some kind of portrait into my work, so I ended up doing that as my last piece. But honors art was a super fun and rewarding experience, and I'm so glad I was able to be a part of it. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank you, Laura. Next, we have Annie Sanders.
Hi everyone, I'm Annie. I'm also a senior in high school and will be following a long line of oldies to go to St. Olaf in the fall. I focused on sustainability this semester, and so I used acrylic on canvas tote bags. I started out kind of exploring my connection to plastic and how, I guess, oppressive it feels in our everyday life. And then I moved on to this intersectionality where plastic and nature meet. And then I finished up my work this semester with the place that inspired it all, Taipei. And I really wish that my grandmother from Taipei could be here right now, but unfortunately the time difference is too great and my Chinese is not good enough to translate in real time. So on the next slide, please, you can see how I set up my stuff in the gallery, and I had a lot of fun this semester.
Thank you, Annie. Maybe you can translate slowly with the recording. I think that would be fantastic. I think your grandmother would love that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right, next we have Marta Sorensen.
Hi, everybody. I'm Marta Sorensen, also a senior, and I plan to attend McAllister College in the fall. Completely undecided about anything, so don't ask me about it. But these are my two pieces, my favorites, of course. But my whole strategy for honors art this year was to have fun and not stress myself out too much during this pandemic. So I decided to go with painting fast food paintings, but in some history paintings that I was interested in. You can go to the next slide and we can look at all of them. But really, I just moved through art history. So I started with the Starry Night paintings, and then I did the Matisse-inspired really bright ones. And then I went into like more modern art with Dali and Edward Hopper and Andrew Wyeth. And then on the far right, that's my little Taco Bell one. I made that in 2019. And so I just kind of went back to that. And I was like, this will be fun. This will be good. And it was fun. They're just acrylic on canvas, and I'm selling prints of them. But yeah, I mean, this was way different than what I did last year in honors art as a junior. I did black and white paintings, and I decided that I really needed more color in my life. So I did some fast food history paintings, because combining history and some modern elements of my life like fast food seemed like it would be fun. So I did that.
Well, I need to get in one more word before Heather wraps it all up. And I think it just is that you are all treasures. I mean, what amazing ambassadors for Northfield as a community, but also from Northfield High School. I mean, talk about well-spoken, amazing humans who are interested in all different facets of life. And I am just blown away. I just can't tell you enough. I get to see you every day, and I just maybe take too much for granted when I see you every day. And it's in this moment that I'm kind of getting choked up, because I'm just so proud of you. So well done.
Here, I'll take it away here, Catherine. I'm going to stop sharing so that we can see everybody. And this is our Q&A time. And I know that Mrs. Hauk had a question. And so I think just each of you, if you could just share something about the installation process and curating your work. There's something you could share about that process and what you enjoyed about it, something you learned, that would be great. And I think I'll start calling We'll start with Marta.
Sure. It's kind of a weird experience because of doing Canvas this year. They were almost like wall ready already. So it was, I think I struggled with like thinking about my art on a wall instead of like flat on the table, more so last year when I was doing like these flat watercolors that I like had to mat and stuff. So that was an intense process. And this year was a lot easier because of the canvas, and I was already so used to like wrapping the painting around the canvas and stuff. So like, I don't know, it's a really unique experience, I think, and I'm really glad we get to do it. And it's a learning process for sure. Like, I don't know how, like, I think I would have done more paintings maybe or something like that. Like, there's always something you want to change once it's up on the wall. Or for one of my pieces, I didn't notice that there was a drip of paint on it or like hair stuck in the acrylic until it's up on the wall. So there's always things to adjust and always things to learn, I think. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Marta. Caroline, what was the process like for you? Something you can share that you learned?
Yeah, so this is my first time hanging stuff up in a gallery, and I had a bit of a tough time. My drawings are in frames, and I decided to go with kind of like older vintage frames because I felt like they just, I kind of had this vision like, oh, like black and white, like detailed, you know, graphite with of these old buildings with these old frames. I thought would be super cool. But then, you know, you put everything in the frames and then you hang it up in the gallery, and I just was slightly ill-prepared. The little hooks kept falling out because the frames were so old. And then you hang out with the glass, and with the gallery lights, it's super good to see the actual drawings, but of course it gets like every single dust speck and whatever like in between the glass. So I ended up hanging only 2 of them up, and then I had to take like 3 home and kind of readjust those so they would stay up. So I definitely think it was a bit of a learning curve for if I ever hang anything up in the future. And I think that can be said for a lot of people who this is their first time hanging in a gallery. But I think it was a good experience, and I wouldn't change it. It was a little difficult, but it was fun.
Awesome. Annie, something you want to share about just curating your series and putting it up in the show in the gallery?
I struggled a lot kind of visualizing my art in the gallery just because it felt so much different than anyone else's. I didn't need hooks. We just strung the bags from fishing line, and then I stuffed the other bags with newsprint and put them on pedestals. But I really love how they turned out, like how the whole installation turned out. And thank you so much for getting on the ladder for me.
My pleasure. Jason, if you could share something that you enjoyed about curating your series and putting it up in the gallery.
Well, it was pretty cool hanging it up, because I've never really hung anything up like on a wall in a museum of sorts, except for like the gallery over at the high school. But I had just mat board frames, so it wasn't like anything super fancy. But we used thumbtacks, and we just kind of stuck them in the wall, and they held up fine. Lots of precise measurements, but Heather helped me out with that, so that was good. In terms of like the process of making my series, I'll just like talk about the last series I made. It was good. I experimented a lot this year, especially with size. I used to draw really small, but I increased size in my paper and my pieces. It was kind of tricky at first, but I got it, and much nicer to look at, honestly.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, it's fun when you try a different scale. Libby, I don't know if you're here. If you
Yes.
Okay.
Computer has my
yeah. Oh, and I see 2. Yeah. Okay, no, that's perfect. So yeah, Libby, if you want to share some thoughts about installation or curating your series.
Sure. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it this semester. I really wasn't sure exactly what I was going to do for my series going into it, but I really enjoyed painting glass. I know a lot of people like ask me why, and I just think it's so fun because there's so many. It really depends on what lighting it's in, so it creates a lot of different interesting colors. And I can also I don't really have to stick to like a confined set of, or like how it's supposed to look, because it looks different ways wherever you put it. So I had a lot of flexibility with how I could paint each one, and I could use different colors rather than just like a lighter blue or gray that you would typically think of when you think of glass. But installing it was really a really fun experience too. I was brainstorming ideas for how I wanted to present it, and I was really excited to learn about floating frames. So I thought that that kind of matched the aesthetic of my collection well. So I really liked finding those frames at Target, which was nice, really convenient. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with that. I agree with Caroline on how it's important to bring glass cleaner with you, I learned, because the gallery really shows everything, including the dust in the frames when you put them up. But yeah, I had a lot of fun. It was really fun to be able to put our pieces up and be able to see everybody's, and after just seeing everyone working on their pieces in the room and then being able to see everything on the wall, it was really a moment to be proud of for our entire class. And thank you for helping us so much with putting everything up.
You're welcome. Thank you. GINA, some thoughts about curating your series and what order you chose to put everything up in?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I agree with everyone. Putting up your show, and for me, seeing like your own work in a real gallery was a really amazing experience. It made me feel really, really strange. I'm really proud of everyone to see all of our work so like beautifully up in the gallery. As far as like hanging them, I originally knew that I wanted to work big. My pieces they're pretty large. And my original thought was to frame them, but getting custom frames for something that big would have been a lot more expensive than I really wanted to do. So I instead had my dad make me a wood frame, and I mounted the paper on them. So I kind of made my own custom way of hanging them, and it worked really well. They look like canvases, but they're watercolor paper. So yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun to see all the different ways that you can finish a piece. So yeah, thanks for sharing. Rachel, you have some thoughts about how you curated, you had large pieces, so then that was another challenge to figure out how that all would go up.
Yeah, this is my first time hanging in a gallery, and I told Mrs. Nori that I had no idea that I had never hung a piece before until I got to the show and started hanging my pieces and didn't really know how to do it. So we had a lot of fun figuring that out. But also just, I knew from the beginning of the semester that I wanted to go big. I didn't know it was going to be 6 square feet big, but it ended up that way. And I actually didn't have any plan for framing or anything before I started. So that was quite the ordeal, but I was thankfully able to find some very nice cheap frames from Walmart, especially since those had the plexiglass instead of the real glass, so they weren't as breakable. But I think that later I will choose a couple pieces and hand frame them at a real frame shop. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a great point there's so much of this is problem solving. Like you make your art and then you still have things to figure out to get it up. So Emma, if you wouldn't mind sharing some thoughts on curating your work and how to put it all together on the wall.
Yeah, so this is actually also my first time hanging up in a gallery, and like making art since elementary school. We've always like put it up in the classroom or something not so professional, but in this setting it makes everyone seem so professional and makes you feel so good about how when it's all up and done with, everyone's looks really amazing. So I think everybody's ideas for putting up on the wall, even though mine is fairly standard, just framing, I think everything turned out really well.
Yeah, and you had to really consider the arrangement of them as a group. So that was wonderful. Kylie, I know you're here, but maybe we'll go to, oh there, Kylie, you're back. If you're able, is your internet connection? Sure, we can come back too. How about Ella? Ella, jump on in, yep.
Sure. So for me, this is also my first time displaying in this type of a gallery. But for me, my display and experience went pretty smoothly, minus a few broken pieces and kiln mishaps and a stolen piece. Besides the point, the installation in the gallery went very smoothly, and I was one of the only, or I was the only person who worked with ceramics, so I had a lot of freedom to display it how I wanted in the gallery. Yeah, it went pretty good, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity. So thank you so much.
Fantastic. Thank you. Ashley, do you want to share?
Yeah. So it was very fun and interesting to hang up my pieces. This was my first time, and I think it was really cool. And it was difficult to like organize and position and like figure out how like where my pieces would look nicely. But yeah, I really liked how it turned out overall. Like all of us, like it just looked so pretty. Yeah.
It's so fun when you see everything up. Yeah, it just always has a different look. Kelsey.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting. I also have never hung in an actual gallery before, so that was really fun. I've only ever had to frame in mat board, like for school and stuff. So it was really fun to try to figure out how I wanted to frame mine. And I tried for the second to last project to put them in frames, and I didn't really like it because I felt like it kind of smushed my work. And so I wanted it to be more free. And Miss Nori came up with the idea to mount it on some stained wood. And I personally think it turned out really well. That way it was easy hang up. Once we figured out how we actually wanted to put it up, I went in going with a plan that I thought I would do. And then we ended up changing it while we were there. And I really like how it turned out, so.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, you just never know until you get it in the space how it's going to look best. So yeah, flexibility. Kylie, if you want to share curating your work and putting it up, how is that for you?
So I was like so nervous about bringing my art to the Arts Guild. I ordered glass for my frames, and I picked out like a certain color of mat board, and I was just so worried about anything going wrong. So the night before we actually did set up the art show, I put all of my stuff into a duffel bag, and I like was wrapping it in towels, and I had everything laid out how I wanted to. And I was like, okay, nothing will break, Kylie. Don't worry about it. And honestly, it was very stressful for me because I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, but I like how my show turned out in general.
Awesome. Great. Thank you for sharing it. And all of you should be so incredibly proud of how this worked out. Yeah, let's virtual round of applause. Yay. And I know that everybody here that's attending is cheering for you at home. So I just want to let everybody know that this recording of this reception will be up on the Guild's website and on our YouTube channel very soon. So please share it with folks that are maybe out of state or out of the country. And you can see it again for a second or third time. We invite you to come see this amazing artwork in person here in the Guild. It's up through June 5th. So our building hours are Wednesday through Friday, noon to 5, Saturdays from 11 to 4. Please come on in and see it while it's up in person. You can see it up close. Many of the works are for sale, and your purchase will support both the artist and the Guild. You can find all the details about this exhibition on the Guild's website, northfieldartsguild.org. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight to celebrate these amazing artists, and thank you so much for being here. And yay! I don't know, Catherine, if you wanted to say anything else.
Thanks so much for coming. Laura, I don't know if we get to ask you about curating. Did we maybe? Gosh. That's okay. We should just ask Laura, what about you hanging your work?
Please.
That's okay. I'll be quick so everyone can get back to what they were doing. Well, like I said, when I was presenting, I knew that I wanted to be an honors art since pretty much I was in 8th grade when I heard about it. And all throughout high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I didn't even know what medium I wanted to use until, you know, we were a month into the semester. And then halfway through, I decided to switch my focus from these fairy creatures to this more kind of hippie theme, but I did really enjoy the medium, and it was enough to keep me entertained for the whole semester. And actually right now, I've just started a giant 20 by 24 inch painting on wood. So I will continue with this medium for a while. In February 2020, I had a gallery at the Paradise Center for the Arts in Faribault. But the thing about that is that they hang all of your work for you. So I had never experienced hanging my own art. And when I got to the guild, I realized that it's not just hammering some nails in the wall and just throwing it up there. It takes a lot of thought, and you think about how the sizes of your pieces work and how you want the viewer's eyes to kind of move throughout the pieces, and what colors look good together, what colors don't look good together, the contrast. So it made me really appreciate the process of hanging in a gallery.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you, all of you, and just congratulations again. Kudos.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, everybody who came to visit tonight and to watch these amazing artists. And we're just so proud of you. Hope you can get down to the Guild before it's done on June 5th. And thank you, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.